Close that back out. All right, be there in just a minute. Hopefully, we're all done logging in here now. Offline, offline. Let me grab Instagram back. So I don't know how many of you do pods or streaming on your own, but there's a time limitation to the IG Live feeds. So you have to continually uh, re-engage with that if your streams go more than an hour. Takes a little bit of time, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. There we go. Okay, so get the IG crowd back here. Just give that a moment to kick back in. Because you know how it is, then you have to sync it up. All right, we'll get the, let's get, okay, and we are live on X everywhere. All right, everyone. First of all, we are just after 11 p.m. Pacific, PDT. So we are well into the early morning hours on the East Coast. So if anyone is up at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m., thanks for staying up with us or getting up awfully early. We are going to do a quick review of Hurricane Francine, the latest information on that. If you cannot see the graphics, if you're on the Jay Dubensky X page, you can see them on our Weather Co-op, so at Weather Co-op on YouTube or on IG or on Twitch or on Facebook. We are out there multicasting, so please follow those channels. If you are on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would mean an awful lot to us. And hit the notification bell there so that you can be updated whenever we come online with new weather information. We have quite a bit going on here in the Gulf right now with Francine, and there was a Hurricane Hunter flight that was in there a short time ago and relayed some new data that the winds had picked up a bit to 85 miles an hour sustained, and that the minimum central pressure that they found on the flight had gone down to 979 millibars. So we are dealing with a slowly strengthening system here, which was in the forecast all along. That's not a shock. If anything, it's a shock that the system has taken so long to get its act together. But in looking at the all of the atmospheric data, we know that it was fighting some dry air that was being drawn into the center of circulation from the north and the west of the storm, that was inhibiting its intensification a bit. And at least for the overnight hours, it has defeated that temporarily, which has allowed it to really blossom overnight. We'll show you in a minute. I'll show you the high-res satellite loop and the convection that fired up around it just before dark and then after dark. But here we have the national view showing the circulation of Francine, and the cloud shield now spreading out, covering most of the southeast U.S. From the far eastern portion of Texas all the way over to North Carolina. You're seeing some of that fanning out. The core of Francine has begun to contract a little bit. So it looks like it's doing its best to get better organized. It had a very wide rough center of circulation earlier today, and that has now condensed or at least started to tighten up a little bit. So those are all signs that hurricane is trying to get its act together, as is the the nature of the clouds, if you can see, let's see, we'll bring this image in a little bit closer here for you. You can see that the clouds around Francine are a little more symmetrical. So it certainly has the look of a healthier storm, with some of the fanning from the upper levels now getting out to that western periphery of the storm. It's still being impacted by that dry air. That's why you don't see as much cloudiness to the western half of the storm as you see off to the east. And there's probably a little bit of shear working in there also, blowing some of that cloud top off. It's not ideal, but I think what we're going to see here with this system is at least maintaining this strength, potentially getting a little bit weaker right before landfall, but still looking at a decent, strong Cat 1 hurricane, potentially just teetering on that Category 2 parameter. So anyone in coastal Louisiana better be prepared for the impacts of a Category 2 hurricane. You have a lot of low-lying area there in coastal Louisiana where it's not that high above sea level, and some of the areas that the storm is going to run into in making landfall along the coast are very low-lying for a very long distance inland. It's a lot of low-lying marshland. So if we have a 10-foot surge even, and high tide timing is going to be important with this system too, because that will dictate to an even greater degree how much surge inundates that area of coastal Louisiana. And something I mentioned in the live shot earlier, this area has seen a lot of rainfall over the last several days. We've had that roughly stationary boundary working across the Gulf Coast for the better part of a week, maybe a little bit more even. And some of the areas, in the Gulf Coast of Texas, across Louisiana, the whole 10 corridor, across Mississippi and Alabama, you guys have already seen a lot of rain. So a system like this coming ashore and bringing 6, 8, 10 inches of rain with it potentially, that water really doesn't have anywhere to go. So right from the get-go, it's going to start flooding. I would not be surprised to see some very, very severe flooding with this system, even though we're not dealing with a Category 3 or 4 or 5 hurricane here. It is going to dump a lot of rain over this area, and with the forecast being what it is, we'll show you this too. We're going to have to deal with a system that essentially gets stuck. We're not going to have a lot of steering winds to pick up the remnants of this system and take it off to the east in the short term. So although it will make landfall as a Category 1 hurricane, and you would think curve to the northeast or the east, in this case, it looks like Francine is going to take more of a northerly turn once it gets inland. And here I'll show you on the next map. So let me show you this too. At least as of right now, the modeling that we have here at Weather Co-op is showing Francine making landfall at just about a 90-mile-an-hour hurricane. Maybe slightly weaker. It looks like we do have some more shear that might be impacting it right before landfall. And that will be sometime in the early afternoon on Wednesday if the current trend continues. Right now it's crawling at 10 miles an hour as of that last Hurricane Hunter flight. So it's moving very slowly. But I do think that speed will accelerate a little bit and make landfall somewhere in a strong Cat 1, borderline Cat 2 storm. And then once it does make landfall, I know you can't see this on my X feed, so I apologize for that. But we're showing all the graphics here on the Weather Co-op pages. But thank you for joining on my page. I can see all the people on there, and I know you're concerned about this system. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them up there. We'll do our best to answer them and get back to you. But anyone who's going to be impacted by the system across the Gulf Coast, across the southeastern U.S., now is the time. It is definitely time for you to make those final preparations, and don't take it lightly that this is being forecast as a Category 1 hurricane. Please don't do that. Category 1 hurricanes are still substantial storms that can cause a tremendous amount of damage and can take human life. It is not to be underestimated at all what this system is going to be capable of. And as you can see, if you're watching this and seeing the graphics, so the area of coastline where the storm is forecasted to come ashore, we're talking well to the west of New Orleans. But, in that Port Charles area, you have a naturally curved coastline anyway. Try to describe this a little bit better, where the water from the surge will be funneled in that area. It's not going to be able to go anywhere once the system really pushes close to land and makes that land fall. The water will have a tough time getting out of there, and will just pile up, and we'll go through the tide cycle, which is not going to help either. As the high tide pushes in, we're going to have to deal with, the impact of the storm surge and the tidal surge, and then also the fact that we'll have the tides working against you. So at this point, that area where it appears to be heading, and almost all the models, by the way, are within 25 miles of each other. I mean, the models are really, really locked in here. So that area near, it's off the 90. So like New Iberia, out toward, what's out there? I'm trying to even think of what's out there. It is a remote coastal plain. Lafayette is there. So Lafayette's like at the top of the curve, if you will, in that area of coastline, and it's all part of the wildlife management area, the Delta Wildlife Management Area. So in the Louisiana Delta, we're talking a tremendous amount of low-lying territory. You have Highway 90 that runs along the wildlife area. That's a very low road. I'm sure that's going to be underwater. Morgan City, Louisiana, is out that way. And then the coastline kind of does a bit of a curve back up toward the northeast before you get to Marario and then eventually Slidell. But it's that area near, let's say, from Lake Arthur to New Iberia down to Morgan City, all along 90 there. That is really, really, really a bad spot for a hurricane to come in on a northeast approach and make a landfall. Not a good situation at all. Marsh Island's out there, and right now it actually looks like if you're looking at this map, it looks like the plot for the center of Francine has it going right over Marsh Island, from what I can see there. So the stronger quadrant of a hurricane, tropical cyclone, is always that right front quadrant. And with the track the way it's looking right now, the strongest wind and the biggest impact from the surge is going to be within that wildlife area and all of that low-lying coastline, which, I mean, it could be worse. This could be going toward New Orleans. There could be a lot more that we could talk about right now. But I think just the fact that we're going to inundate a lot of that coastline, and I can never pronounce it correctly. Uh, it's Acha Atchafalaya Wildlife Management Area. I I really do a bad job with that, but it is the Atchafalaya. Uh, that is going to be underwater. So anyone with interests there, coastal Louisiana, coastal Mississippi, coastal Alabama, even, you're all going to have to be on the lookout with this system. And one of the major concerns with landfalling tropical cyclones is the risk for tornadoes. And the reason for that is mostly because of the frictional element of a tropical cyclone moving on shore, where these very large areas of convection begin to encounter friction over the land. And with the individual elements within those convective bands, can spin up very quickly. They can get a lot of shear going, and we can get EF0, EF1, sometimes EF2 tornadoes even, that form very quickly and are fast movers with these bands coming ashore. So I think that threat is going to exist for all of Louisiana, probably all of Mississippi, all of Alabama, into Georgia, even the panhandle of Florida. You guys are all going to have to be on the lookout for this, especially as we work our way through Wednesday and into Thursday even. Once the system does move inland, we'll show you the next graphic here. It is going to take its sweet time, and it really is not going to go anywhere but essentially right up the Mississippi River Valley. It is not a common track, but it does happen from time to time where these storms move inland and then kind of get cut off. But as you can see here on the graphic, as of right now, the models are, the weather co-op models are showing it as a weakening, but still tropical storm strength system by 7 a.m. on Thursday. And that's over the Mississippi, central Mississippi area, and then moving northward from there by Thursday night, potentially up into the northern Mississippi, borderline Arkansas area, and then as a post-tropical low by Friday up into, it's up basically up the Mississippi River. So Tennessee, you could be looking at this. Missouri, you could be looking at this impacting you in a big way. I'm sure Illinois, you're going to have to be on the watch for this. So many states are going to be impacted by this system, and it's going to wring itself out over the Mississippi River Valley. So we're going to have a lot of rain with this system, a lot of flooding in areas that you might not be thinking of right now. Might be thinking about just the coastline and where it's going to make landfall as the big story. But the big story is going to be for several days with Francine and the remnants of Francine. So even though it won't be a major hurricane upon landfall, we are still going to be dealing with a significant weather event for millions and millions of people across Dixie Alley and across the southeastern U.S. Let's get into some more graphics here while we have the time. Where do I want to go? Okay, so here, this is the other big story right now, and we have to cover the wildfires. They have been ongoing for a while. Most of the West Coast has been impacted one way or another with these wildfires, especially west of the Rocky Mountains. We have several fires burning in Idaho. We have fires burning in Oregon. And then, of course, we have the fires burning in California and even a few in Arizona. But the Southern California wildfires are becoming more and more of a story here with time over the last 48 hours. And basically, if if you're not familiar with the area around Greater Los Angeles, it's Los Angeles itself is a basin, so it's a very low lying area, but it's very large. And around Los Angeles, we have several mountain ranges. We have the only west to east mountain ranges in the United States, with the Santa Monica Mountains and the Santa Ynez and San Gabriel's. They run west to east, major mountain ranges. And then, of course, we have the San Bernardino Mountains that are out to the east of greater LA. And then down in Orange County, um, it's kind of like surrounded on three sides by mountains and then surrounded by the Pacific Ocean. So, um, and you have 10 million people, well, more than 10 million people in that area. So right now, we have three major wildfires burning in Southern California, and I'll show you the surface smoke map here. This is the map through tomorrow, and you can see where the greatest threat is for the smoke here. We're dealing with Central Oregon into Idaho and Montana, and then the California-Arizona smoke working its way up through Utah, right up the 15 corridor from St. George all the way up to Salt Lake City, and then into Wyoming even. And Salt Lake City, as you know, has poor air quality to begin with, and this time of the year you deal with a lot of inversions around the Salt Lake, so the air quality isn't great. So adding smoke to it is a pretty bad thing. But the California wildfires, and we'll zoom this in here, are growing in size, the three fires that we have right now. And especially tonight, today and tonight, we've seen some rapid growth in these fires. And if you happen to be on one of these feeds and you're watching me from the greater Los Angeles area or out towards San Bernardino or down coast toward Laguna, you know what I'm talking about because you probably see the glow in the sky. And I'm not exaggerating in saying that. Oh, I'm scrolling. Thank you for the comments here. Thank you very much. I'm definitely going to get to these. Wow. I appreciate all the views here, everybody. Thank you very much. But the fires around LA, we have by far, in terms of acreage, we have two fires right now in the line and the Bridge Fire. They're both burning over 30,000 acres. And I want to get the exact number for you here because I know they were just updated a short time ago. So one of the many direct connections that we have here is with the fire services. So shout out to all the firefighters out there who are battling these fires on the front lines and going on the attack, and all the pilots who are flying the flights into the fires with the helicopters and the fixed wing resources. You guys do a tremendous job, and can't say enough about how brave you guys are. And I know with the Bridge Fire and the line fire and the airport fire, there was an awful lot going on in terms of trying to have any kind of containment at all with these fires. All right, let's get into some live graphics here. I'm going to pull over. Yeah, I can do this. Stand by. I'm going to pull the graphic from. Yeah, there we go. The magic of. Hopefully you can see that on the live stream. I think you can. So in the greater Los Angeles area, we have the Bridge Fire that is now over 34,000 acres. We have the line fire that is also, wow, this just updated. I looked at this 30 minutes ago and it was 32,000 acres. So that's also 34,000 plus acres. And the airport fire Down in Orange County, that fire is now over 19,000 acres and growing rapidly and heading out toward Mission Viejo. So I'll go to the North Fire first. So the Bridge Fire is burning near Mount Baldy, and if you happen to be flying in and out of LAX, you have a bird's eye view of these fires tonight, and they look very impressive. Seen some photos that people have posted flying in and out of the airport. The Bridge Fire is working up in the Angeles National Forest there in the San Gabriels, and sadly, there is a ski area up in that area called Mountain High. And anyone who grew up in LA, I didn't grow up in LA, but I know a lot of people who did, or in the valley or out in San Bernardino, Mountain High was probably one of the first places that you ever skied. And it's not a small ski area either. It has about 1,600 vertical feet of drop, which is a pretty decent sized ski area. Nothing like the big mountain ski areas, but certainly not really small. The Mountain High ski area, as we know it, doesn't exist anymore, and I'm really saddened to be here telling you this. Most of the ski area was destroyed this afternoon by this bridge fire, and we are going to be posting some very graphic video of the ski area being overrun with the fire today. The live cam that we have actually does show the fire coming into the ski area. So we'll post that after I get done with the lives here. But you also have Highway 2 that runs, it's a very scenic, beautiful highway that runs through that area by Wrightwood. Right now, there are mandatory evacuations going on in Wrightwood, and the fire is approaching the outskirts of the city of Wrightwood, and the fire department is really struggling to try to contain it. This is a tough time, during the middle of the night to get air resources out into the fires. So they kind of back down a little bit, but I'm sure at first light they'll be attacking it significantly again and getting the helicopters up there and the tankers. So for now, it's just defensive really overnight for the fire crews that are out there. And if they can get some helicopters into some of the residential neighborhoods, I'm sure they will do their best. So that fire is at 34,240 acres as of the last report, which was probably just 20 or 30 minutes ago. To the east of that fire, out in the San Bernardinos, we have the line fire at 34,000 acres. And that fire is burning right on the outskirts of San Bernardino. It is impacting structures, and it is burning out an area where, unfortunately, it's moving toward Big Bear ski area. So even another ski area is under threat here, as is the Lake Arrowhead area, which is a very popular vacation area for Californians. That fire also has very little containment, if any, on it, and is going to be burning for quite a while as they do their best there. And then the airport fire to the south of Los Angeles, it has grown significantly this afternoon. That is heading toward the Lake Elsinore area, if you know where that is, out near Corona, Murrieta, out that way. You guys are really being impacted by the smoke from that fire, in the Moreno Valley. That fire also on the western edge of that fire, you are getting close to the residential areas of Rancho Margarita and Mission Viejo and Lake Forest and Laguna. I mean, it's not very far away from you guys. So you're going to have to watch this very carefully overnight and tomorrow to see what they're doing in terms of evacuations. If you do have a mandatory evacuation issued for your location, please evacuate immediately. Now's the time to be prepared to evacuate. Pack your car, pack your truck, get everything together that you need, and get those belongings that are essential for you. Put them in the vehicle already. Just have it ready to go. So if you are asked to leave, you are ready to go. It is that serious a situation. And same can be said for anyone living up in the Wrightwood area. Same can be said for anyone living up or vacationing up near Big Bear right now. Please, please, please be prepared to evacuate those areas. All right, I'm going to get back to the surface smoke map here and get back on that graphic. I thought I'd show you the Cal Fire graphic. And there are numerous fires burning around California. It's not like those are the only 3 fires, by the way. We have several other fires that are burning simultaneously. We'll get out to this. So with the smoke map, through Thursday, early in the morning on Thursday, the threat for that smoke to encroach more toward greater Los Angeles is going to increase. The winds are not going to be as strong, and in fact, it looks like we're going to be set up in a bit of easterly offshore winds for Thursday into Friday. Excuse me. And with those fires burning the way they are, and knowing that we don't really have any rain in the forecast, although may have some fog, may have some low-level moisture, might help a little bit, but certainly won't do anything to fight the fire. Once those winds shift around come Thursday morning, that smoke will work its way back toward the coastline, toward Los Angeles. You will probably get some air quality alerts and some warnings issued, and we'll have to deal with that around greater Los Angeles come Thursday, Friday. And with the wind shift also comes the threat that the fires can begin to burn into areas that they have not burned in already. So that means that there will be more abundant fuel for the fires if they do encounter a wind shift. Shout out to the firefighters. My father is a 36-year retired municipal firefighter. So I grew up learning a lot about what it's like to be the son of a firefighter, proud son of a firefighter, and to learn a lot about fire technology and getting into weather and meteorology, learning about fire behavior and fuel types and burn rates. The way that these fires are burning today has been very impressive, and we're encountering areas that really do have a lot of old growth. The particular areas that are impacted by these fires have not seen any fires in quite a while, so the fuel types there are long duration burn fuel types, so it's helping the fires maintain themselves and spread even more. But of course, until we get to, I'll skip here a little bit, until we get to Thursday and Friday and the threat for that smoke to work maybe more toward the coastline, everyone off to the east of the fires is going to be dealing with extremely unhealthy conditions for the next several days. So anywhere out in the desert, 29 Palms for anyone in the military out there who might be training this week. It's going to be a tough week for you guys and gals. Even if you're vacationing out in Palm Springs, it is not going to be a very good week to be outside with this air quality, poor air quality. But especially the San Fernando Valley, and then moving toward the Los Angeles Basin, we're going to be on the lookout for this smoke by the end of the week this week. So everyone out there, be prepared. Please, again, if any warnings are issued for your particular area, please heed them immediately. Do not mess around with these fires. They mean business. And at last count, as a matter of fact, for the state of California in total, I actually lost count. at 14 major wildfires that are currently burning simultaneously, and I'm sure the number is larger than that. But from north to south, we are dealing with several fires. And the one thing that also looks to be of concern with the fires right now, looking out toward the greater Los Angeles fires, there does appear to be some fire spread that is occurring because of the embers being carried in the wind. So there were a few pop-up fires near Lake Elsinore that I'm sure are attributed to the airport fire and debris that's getting lofted, embers that are getting lofted up into the air with that fire. Same can be said for, the areas with the line fire. When you get out into that very remote area up there, approaching Big Bear, you have a lot of old growth forest up there, and it's not going to take too much for that fire to jump, is what we call it, and spread into different areas from the embers that are carrying the winds. And if anything, it looks like the wind forecast is for stronger winds to be impacting some of these areas over the next 24 to 48 hours. The bridge fire, I mean, anywhere, it's surrounding Mount Baldy. And if you happen to know that area, there are several peaks and valleys around Mount Baldy, even away from Route 2, where the fire is going to encounter a lot of sustainable fuel types. A lot of old growth trees out there. And as it gets closer to the highway, I'm sure CAL FIRE is working on a strategy to keep the fire from getting closer to Wrightwood, but that is going to be a tough thing to do. We already know that the west, what we refer to as Mountain High West, has already succumbed to the impact of the fire, which is really sad. The ski area that encompasses Mountain High actually was at one time 3 independent smaller ski areas, and the east, what we call Mountain High East, is now being threatened by the fire. It's actually jumped over the Blue Ridge truck trail that runs through there, and in some cases is now beginning to jump over Route 2. So even the east side of Mountain High Resort is going to be impacted by this fire overnight tonight, which is sad. And then really it has a clear run into the city of Wrightwood. So anyone living in Wrightwood, you should probably be evacuating already. But if you live north of Wrightwood, like heading up Los Angeles Crest, sorry, is what I'm thinking of. You guys are probably already seeing the fire jump. And I am actually looking at this map in real time right now, and CAL FIRE is updating the coverage of the fire now, and is starting to fill in the area for East Mountain High. So the fire is definitely moving closer to Angeles Crest Highway and consuming Mountain High ski area in total, which is really sad. That's a really sad story, but a lot of sad stories are coming out of these fires. Do a quick zoom in here on the airport fire and see what the latest update is on that now that they're beginning to post. Okay, so with the airport fire, just stay with me here and I'll give you the latest information on that. It is beginning to approach, the west side of Lake Elsinore, the city of Lake Elsinore itself. It's getting close to the ridge tops there, right outside the city. So, heading up or take a highway, You guys are certainly seeing that orange glow in the sky, and there are some residential neighborhoods that have now been impacted. Um, Unfortunately, some homes that have burned up there along Ortega Highway, which is 74, I believe. Uh, so the mandatory evacuations for you guys are certainly for good reason. And then it looks like that fire is getting ready to really cross over into the county line here. Um, Cal Fire is doing its best to contain it, but it is growing rapidly. Look at about 4,000 acres just today alone this afternoon. And then on the west side of that fire, seeing that how much that line has grown over the course of the last 24 hours, beginning to work down toward the neighborhoods. Yeah, wow, it is getting close now. I'll give you a bearing on that so you know what I'm talking about. So, Trabuco Canyon is the area where they were attempting to be defensive in fighting the fire, the airport fire. But the fire, it has now been able to work its way down into Trabuco Creek and begin to impact the homes here. And that, by the way, for those of you who don't live in that area, that's all in Rancho Santa Margarita. So if you Google that, you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. But there are some residential neighborhoods up in the hills above Rancho Santa Margarita and Trabuco Canyon that are now right on the border of this fire. So you guys are all in mandatory evacuation, I'm sure. And that area is pretty well populated. So we're going to have to watch what happens with that tomorrow. And I'll take one quick look. Just wanted to see one quick look also. And wow, thank you for all the views up here on social. Really do appreciate it, guys. So the line fire, take a quick look at this also. The line fire, as of right now, is working into the neighborhoods. And I know I've been watching the flights all day long, the fixed wing flights and the helicopter flights coming in and out of this area, trying to keep the line fire away from the residential neighborhoods. And up near Greensport Road, that runs up through the very far eastern side of San Bernardino. There are a few residential neighborhoods there right on the base of the mountainside, and the fire is just beginning now to impact some of the homes there, crossing over and jumping over the roads. It's going to be a tough night to keep that contained. I mean, those of you that live up in that area you know what the deal is. It's a threat every year to deal with these wildfires. But just the amount of area that this fire is covering right now, even going up in like Clover Hill Drive, Emerton Lane, Arroyo Visto Drive out there, the fire is right up against the roadside. So as it begins to jump the road and begin to impact some of the structures and homes there, we hope the firefighting crews, I know a lot of the reserve crews and the call-in crews that are coming from the surrounding cities and towns are all setting up within this residential neighborhood in an attempt to protect it. And if you've never been in a situation like that, never seen that, we're talking dozens, if not hundreds, of fire trucks that set up in these neighborhoods and cover the hot spots, connect to the fire hydrants. If there are no hydrants, fortunately, there are a lot of hydrants in this area, but in areas where they don't have hydrants, they bring in tankers that can be used as mobile water resources. And sometimes they even just connect to any of the water bodies of water, the reservoirs, and they can pull the water out of the reservoirs into the pumpers in order to fight those fires. But that area there on the far eastern side of San Bernardino is under a major threat right now. This is all Highland, the area of Highland, California. You guys really do have a tough night ahead of you. So be alert, stay safe. And then on the other end of the fire, that's approaching the area of Running Springs. And that's kind of a beautiful vacation, mostly vacation type area out there. Small town, but certainly you guys have already seen some structures being impacted by this fire. Much less populated an area than the western side of the fire in San Bernardino, but still populated nonetheless, and definitely at risk for threatening life and property. All right, so that's an overview of what we're dealing with, not only for Hurricane Francine, but yes, it is the first Hurricane Francine that we have ever seen. This was the first year that the name Francine was incorporated in the list by the National Hurricane Center. So that's why you haven't heard of a Francine before. But we will give you an update on that. We're going to leave the graphics up on Francine overnight, tracking that, and then we'll be in for more coverage tomorrow on both the fires and the progress of Hurricane Francine. Thanks again to all the viewers. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications there. Notice hundreds of you getting on this live stream. We really do appreciate that. We appreciate the support here for Weather Co-op. We work really hard to give you the best information that we can, and to keep you updated, keep you informed, keep you prepared, so that you can make the best decisions for you, for your businesses, for your families. That's what it's all about here. So be part of the community. Definitely, we implore you to come back overnight tonight. We'll put the graphics up, as I said. We will definitely get you the latest information as we can on the wildfires, and we'll be loading that video up from Mountain High Ski Area. Certainly a sad situation there tonight, and we'll see what's left of it tomorrow. It's ski season just a couple of months away for the mountains of California. You never like to see something like that happen. But of course, we're looking at the threat for Big Bear. You guys are certainly in the line of fire, more ways than one, with what's heading toward you. And we need you guys to be prepared for that. The line fire is certainly getting close to you already, and working out there. And it's only, at the last check, I believe the line fire was, I don't know how they come up with 14%, but I believe the number was 14% containment on the line fire in San Bernardino County. The bridge fire is still burning at 0% containment. Just an awful situation right now. And I had mentioned that I lost count at 15 fires. For those of you who didn't hear that earlier, I was looking at the fires lately. So we have the Park Fire, which is by far the largest fire, and that is almost fully contained now, but not before burning almost 430,000 acres up in Butte and Tehama County. The Boreal Fire is 95% contained now in Kern County. That fire has burned just under 60,000 acres. Then we have the active fires, the line fire at 34,000, just about 34,300 acres and 14% containment. And then the bridge fire in Los Angeles, San Bernardino counties, kind of spread on the line right there. That's at 34,240 acres with 0% containment. Then we have the what we call the Lightning Complex fire, and that was in Kern County also. That is almost fully contained at 33,000 acres. The airport fire, as we said earlier, is still 0% containment, and that is now over 19,000 acres. The Boone fire in Fresno County, that fire is 56% contained at last report, and has burned 17,600 acres, Fresno County. The Coffee Pot fire in Tulare County, that is 37% contained at 13,700 acres burned. The Boise fire in Humboldt, that fire is almost fully contained, over 90%. That has burned just under 13,000 acres. The Bear fire in Sierra, at 83% containment, has burned approximately 3,300 acres. The Rubler fire in San Diego County is 85% contained, and that's at 1,000 acres. And then we have much smaller fires there: the Boyles fire, the Wicklow, the Train, the Mill Creek 4, the Kelso, and the Coyote fire are all under 100 acres burned, and mostly well past 50% containment. The Coyote fire in Riverside County is a brand new fire. That is 0% containment, but at this point has only affected 20 acres. We'll keep an eye on that, knowing that that's in Riverside County, and it was just reported earlier today. And I'm taking a quick look at that right now just to give you a location on it. Yeah, that's outside of Palm Springs, actually right near Coachella, in Indio, in the wildlife refuge area there. So that's 0% contained, but 20 acres. We'll see if the local fire department resources can get on that and take care of that in short order so it doesn't become anything more. But that's it. That's a wrap for Hurricane Francine and for the California wildfires. We'll be back. There'll be an update from National Hurricane Center on Francine coming up shortly. We'll see. Actually, right now, why not? We'll take a look while we're live. It's always great to give you the best information that we can. Okay, so yes, we do have an update, another update on Francine. So the hurricane hunters are doing their thing here. We do now have a 90-mile-per-hour hurricane. Impressive. So within the last hour, we had another hurricane hunter flight go into Francine. And the latest data, so this is 5 minutes old. The latest data that was just uploaded does have the maximum sustained wind. So breaking news here, guys. I'm glad that I kept the live going. So breaking news on Francine. The storm has dropped to 977 millibars. It is still moving northeast at about 10 miles per hour, so it's still crawling here. But now we are seeing a 90-mile-per-hour sustained hurricane. And that is within the modeling. And I'll pull this up quickly for you, for those of you who may not have seen that at the beginning of the hit. We can do this quite quickly here. So we'll get to our first jump. We'll show you, this is the current view. There we go. And we'll pause that right there. So this is the current view of Francine, and it is showing, a much more symmetrical appearance. We can get a little bit better. See if I can get some better radar imagery here, because I know we're beginning to pull away from some of those other radar sites. We'll let that update, see if it refreshes with better radar presentation. But you can even see in the last part of the loop here. Let me make sure that you're seeing that on the stream. Yeah, you are. Okay. So the last part of the stream, you can see how the eye, what's going to be the eye wall of Francine is now beginning to take shape. We're getting some deep convection there around the center of the storm, and it's wrapping around the northwest side. Let me see if I can bring up while we're working in this live. Let's get. You might see the screen flicker here, so we'll bring it back in just a second. I want to make sure that we have the latest radar up for you. So we do have the ability to do that. Okay, there we go. Let's see, we have lightning. I'm going to put lightning intensity of the contour. There we go. Yeah, okay. So let's see if we can pick up. See if that refreshes a little bit better. Bear with me. We're pulling up the latest radar to coincide with this breaking news on Francine. Let's see what we have for. Yeah, okay. So we're loaded up with the New Orleans radar site. For some reason, seems to be not a good time for New Orleans site to be down. Let's see what we have here. Again, bear with us because we're coming in with brand new information here on Francine. We're going to load up. Yeah, let's take this radar. So we have Lake Charles. Okay, we'll apply that. All right, let's see if we can get a better view here. We'll get this. It's going to take a couple of seconds here for this to update, but we'll sweep it in and see if we can get an even better view of this live as we go here. Save that. All right, let's bring this view up. Stay with me here. We'll load this for you. So with our computer here at Weather Co-op, we're able to really give you a lot of detail that many stations don't have the ability to with traditional broadcasting. We pride ourselves on being able to give you the best data, the latest data for your benefit and your safety. And this is a pretty good view. So we can see now where we have that potential eye wall forming and wrapping around the central dense overcast of Francine there, beginning to form an eye. And with the pressure drop to 997, I'm not surprised to see that presentation right now. It certainly is consistent. Let's see if we can find out what I'm actually looking for the flight so I can really give you some information on that particular flight that was able to get that updated information. We're able to access the NOAA Hurricane Hunter flight logs here at Weather Co-op, and I can get you that information. Um, yeah, they're updating their flight logs. Okay, I had the thought anyway. So now we're dealing with a strong Category 1 hurricane with Francine, and we are only 6 miles an hour away from a Category 2 hurricane. So, and if this trend continues, overnight for the rest of the night into tomorrow morning, we could potentially be dealing with a Category 2 hurricane by the morning. So you need to be prepared for that. Yeah, look at this. With the latest scan, you can clearly see how Francine is definitely looking to form an eye. And I would assume within the next, see if we can get this. I want to move this image a little bit more for you because we have the ability to do that. Again, thank you for everyone out there who's watching this live stream with us. We appreciate it here. So I'm just going to reposition this image a little bit, and you can see, take the pointer out, so you can see that we have the area of intensification here. This is where it looks like we're beginning to form an eye with Francine, a more well-defined eye, and we're seeing that inner core band wrap around the storm entirely, beginning to get around that westerly edge and just make a little bit of a nudge around the southern side of it. And that kind of makes sense. You can see the actual cloud coverage enlarging here in its circumference around the center of low pressure also. All signs that the storm is gaining some strength and at least fighting the impact of the dry air that was inhibiting it earlier in its life cycle. But the outer bands are now beginning to make it to the coastline of Louisiana. And here we'll move I'll move the camera again, back this out a little bit. So here we have coastal Louisiana. We'll get the pointer back on for you right there. So this is the Louisiana coastline. This is Marsh Island. This is what I was talking about earlier. So this entire area here is all wildlife refuge. And the track of the storm, I'll back out a little bit farther. Okay. So right now, the forecast track of Francine has it moving on shore somewhere in this general vicinity here. And with this type of a bay geography, if you will, the water from the surge with Francine is going to get trapped in this area and be able to inundate more of the inland regions along that marshland. And there really aren't a lot of homes near the wildlife preserve, but we do have major metropolitan areas there. Actually, if I can, I can't pull up the small cities on the graphic, but let me zoom in a little bit and I'll give you a little bit of an orientation here. So again, this is Marsh Island, and I would say I-10 runs basically here where I have the arrow, and then takes a little bit of a jog toward the northeast, right at the apex of this bay. So it comes across Louisiana and then runs up toward the northeast, heading up toward New Orleans. And that's a pretty decent distance inland. But with 10 or 15 feet of storm surge, the water, especially in the western side of 10, there's not an awful lot of elevation in that area all the way up to the city of Lafayette, which is a pretty large city. And Lafayette is basically right here under the corner of our graphic. That's a pretty large city. And then from Lafayette, you come down southeastward, and then the much smaller city of New Iberia is right about here. And then if you keep following 90, it runs along the coastline and then up toward Slidell. So it kind of parallels the coastline here. I think most of 90 and those small towns, like Morgan City, right. See if I can. Morgan City's right about here. I would expect them to be inundated with water, and then you have the other small city of Gray in this area here, right near the top of this little inundation to the coastline. Right about there is Gray. There's really not a lot of land here to stop the water that's going to be rushing in with the tidal surge and the storm surge from Francine. So I think that's going to be the biggest story, how much coastline gets impacted here. And then, of course, dealing with a 90-mile-per-hour hurricane, you are going to see structural damage. How far that goes inland, as you saw in the modeling before, we are going to be dealing with a relatively slow-moving system. So that wind, although it will begin to lessen as soon as it makes landfall, the forecast still has this as a tropical storm type of system here moving into eastern Mississippi by Thursday morning. So a lot of areas are going to be dealing with the wind impact, power outages, of course, trees down. And again, because we've had so much rain in this area over the last week, the ground's saturated. So if we're adding even tropical storm force winds to this area, it's going to be that much easier for trees to be uprooted and power lines to go down. So be prepared, anywhere in Louisiana, anywhere in Mississippi here in Alabama, and then even working up into Arkansas. Be prepared to be without power. I think a lot of areas are going to see widespread power outages that might last for quite a while. And anybody in the coastline, definitely urge you to evacuate to higher ground. I'm sure law enforcement will be out there tomorrow in numbers to ask people to voluntarily leave. And then in areas, I think along coastal Louisiana, we'll see a lot of mandatory evacuations through the morning hours as this storm just continues to gain strength. You can see it here as we go loop by loop with the radar returns of how it's strengthening nearly by the minute at this point. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching this. I appreciate you and your time as always. Do your best to stay safe out there. If you have any questions, definitely make sure to send them to us here at Weather Co-op. We will do our best to respond to those. And be sure to like, follow, subscribe. Definitely, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It would mean a lot for us to get those numbers up. We have a lot of views on YouTube, an awful lot of views on YouTube, especially with our short videos. But we would like to convert more of those into subscribers. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to our YouTube channel, but it would help us out greatly for what we do here in the studio and out covering weather live, which is what most of us have a passion to do. So have a great night, everybody. Be safe out there.